I was standing in the middle of the supermarket, holding my son's hand, and I could feel everyone staring at me. The cashier had just rolled her eyes and said, "Next time, come prepared. We don't have time for people like you." I could feel my face burning. People behind me started sighing. Somebody muttered, "Some mothers." And in that moment, I felt humiliated, small, and completely alone. If you've ever felt judged, if you've ever been treated like you're nothing, especially when you're just trying to survive for your child, this story is for you. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share the most humiliating moment I went through as a 30-year-old single mom, the injustice behind it, and the 3 decisions I made that completely changed how I see myself. My name is Sarah. I'm 30 years old. I have 1 kid. And I don't have a husband, no partner, no real family support, no one to call when everything falls apart. A few years ago, my life looked like this, working a job that barely covered rent and food. Coming home exhausted but still having to cook, clean, help with homework, and waking up in the middle of the night, panicking about money. And silently wondering if I'd completely ruined my life. I carried this invisible label everywhere I went. Single mom, alone, failing, and the world doesn't always treat women like me with kindness. That normal première de mi liste might have restless, and I kept calculating prices in my head because I knew I was close to my limit. We reached the checkout. The cashier scanned everything. I swiped my card. Declined. My heart dropped. I tried again. Declined. My son looked up at me and said, "Mom, is everything okay?" Behind me, I could hear someone sigh loudly. Another voice whispered, "Can you hurry up?" I could feel their eyes on the back of my neck like I was a problem just for existing. I pulled out my phone to check my bank app. Of course. A payment had come out earlier than I expected. I didn't have enough. I quietly said to the cashier, "I'm so sorry. Can I just remove a few items?" She looked at me with this mix of boredom and judgment and said, "Loud enough for people to hear. Next time, come prepared. We don't have time for people like you." People like you. In that moment, it wasn't just about the groceries. It felt like she was saying, "You're irresponsible. You're a bad mother. You shouldn't even be here." My son squeezed my hand. I wanted to disappear. I removed the things I couldn't afford: the yogurt he liked, the fresh fruit ID promised him, and walked out of there with a half-full bag and a heart that felt completely empty. Outside, I sat on a bench, my son playing with a little toy car, and I just stared at the ground. That wasn't the only moment. There were the looks at school events because there was no dad. The questions, "Oh, just you today." The silent judgment on really just meet around, "Il te fait ton faire. Et toi en faire." I was working so hard and still being treated like a failure. That night, after I put my son to bed, I sat at the kitchen table and finally let myself cry. Not just because I couldn't afford a few extra groceries, but because of how small I had allowed myself to feel. I realized something important. The world might see a single mom with no support. But I was the one repeating that story to myself over and over. I was carrying shame that didn't belong to me. I was taking other people's judgments and making them my identity. So I asked myself 3 questions. What if that cashier's comment says more about her than about me? What if I'm actually strong for doing this alone, not weak? What kind of woman do I want my son to remember me as? And in that quiet kitchen, with a stack of unpaid bills and a sink full of dishes, I made 3 decisions. Decision 1, I would stop apologizing for existing. I decided I would no longer whisper sorry every time I took up space at the store, at school, at work. I am a mother doing my best. That is nothing to be ashamed of. Decision 2, I would separate my value from my situation. I might be broke. I might be tired. I might be alone. But that doesn't mean I am less worthy, less intelligent, or less deserving of respect. My bank balance is a number. My value as a human being is not. Decision 3. I would turn my humiliation into fuel, instead of letting that supermarket moment break me. I decided, this is a chapter, not my whole story. So I started learning about money. I took small steps to improve my skills. Seriously, I finally allowed myself to truly dream big. Even a little of a future where I didn't feel this powerless. It didn't change overnight. But something inside me shifted. I stopped seeing myself as a victim of every judgmental look and unfair comment, and started seeing myself as a woman in the middle of a comeback story. If you're watching this and you've felt humiliated, judged, or completely alone, maybe you're a single mom, maybe you're just carrying everything by yourself, maybe your family doesn't support you, or they disappeared when you needed them most. Here's what I want you to remember. Your situation is not your identity. Being broke, alone, or struggling doesn't make you less worthy. Other people's comments are not the truth. That cashier's stare, the judging relative, that stranger's look, they absolutely don't know your whole story or your heart. You are allowed to start your comeback, even from the most humiliating moment. You don't need a big plan today. You just need one decision. I will not let this moment define me. If this story spoke to you, I recorded another video where I share what happened after this. How I slowly started rebuilding my confidence and creating a better life for me and my son. Click on that next video, and let's keep walking through this together. You are not as alone as you feel right now.